We were never kings. Why mankind was never meant to rule. This book is not about how to gain power. It is not Robert Greene's manual on how to manipulate, deceive, seduce, or conquer. This is not a book of strategy. It is a mirror that exposes mankind for what it is: incompetent, fragile, unworthy of power. Humans do not rule power. Power rules them. Even those who were given a fragment of power by God, prophets, messengers, wise men, for them, power was not a crown. It was a burden. They knew how dangerous it truly was. They feared it. Power cannot be controlled. It cannot be handled by human hands. It changes us. It corrupts us. It deceives and enslaves us. And every time, we fail. If power was meant for man, the world would be just. But it isn't. It never was. If I am wrong, then tell me, why has every powerful ruler died in chaos? Why is the world still burning, broken, starving, and unjust, after all our so-called greatness? We were never kings. It was always a lie. This book is the final statement on human failure, a record of why no leader, no system, and no civilization has ever survived power without collapsing beneath its weight. Power is not for us. It never was. Power is older than morality. Before humans knew what was right or wrong, they knew what they wanted and how to take it. Morality was not born first. It was a reaction, an afterthought, a bandage applied after the damage was already done. The first man to kill was not punished by conscience. He was feared. The first ruler was not chosen for wisdom. He was obeyed because he could destroy. Power shaped human history long before anyone spoke of justice. And even when we began to speak of it, we only did so after power had already decided who would speak and who would stay silent. Long before the idea of law, man built hierarchies with violence. The strongest didn't ask for permission. They took land, women, food, lives. There were no debates, no courts, no morality, only power and those crushed beneath it. The first kings were not elected. They were feared. And when morality finally arrived, it arrived too late, shaped by the victors, written in blood, and used to protect the power already stolen. Even religion, which claims to guide men toward truth, did not escape the shadow of power. Prophets were forced to confront empires, not negotiate with them. Their message alone was never enough. They needed strategy, resistance, even war. Revelation could not survive without confrontation, and those who followed them often turned their message into kingdoms, using the same power that once opposed the truth to now defend it. The holy became political. The spiritual became territorial.
We like to believe that civilization evolved, that we moved from chaos to order, from violence to reason. But beneath the surface, nothing changed. Power simply changed its uniform. Where there were once swords, there are now policies. Where there were once thrones, there are now offices. Modernity gave power a softer voice, but not a cleaner soul. The same hunger rules us, only now it smiles, speaks well, and wears a suit. The world evolved, and so did power, shifting from kingdoms to democracies, from monarchs to markets. Today's capitalism isn't a new force. It's the oldest form of rule disguised as freedom. There have always been two kinds of people, the poor and average, who want to taste wealth so they can gain leverage over others, and the already rich, who are never satisfied, not even with billions. But money alone isn't enough. It gives access, not dominance. The real hunger is for something higher, control. In America, the presidential system was introduced to reflect power coming from the people. One man, elected by millions, was supposed to stand above the rich, but even that system was eventually hijacked. not by votes, but by capital. The capitalist class didn't just want wealth, they wanted to shape the world. Today, the ones calling the shots aren't politicians. They are CEOs, investors, media owners, and the politicians are their employees. Selected, marketed, promoted, and used like products. Laws, taxes, inflation, fear, these are the new chains. The distance between those with power and those with nothing has become so wide it can no longer be crossed. That's not just a system failure, that's a human failure. Morality today is selective, it isn't universal. It's defined by the powerful, not just in politics, but in culture, education, and even religion. The ones who control power now decide what is moral, what is offensive, what is right, and what is wrong. They don't just shape morality, they shape history. That's why the saying exists. History is written by the victors, but what kind of victors are we talking about? Tyrants? Or perhaps those who hijacked power after Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, using their names for sympathy, using religion as a tool to gain power, to hold positions, to rule in disguise. I come from the Abrahamic tradition, and in my eyes, the message was hijacked long ago. After our beloved prophets, came waves of rulers and scholars who divided the people, promoted blind loyalty, and built power on sects, not unity. Intellectuality, the courage to question, became rare. But intellectuality is often the only thing that can lead you to the truth. How did the powerful become powerful? First, they manipulated their way to the top through deceit, propaganda, and playing the victim. Second, they eliminated threats. They divided their opposition. They made people weak. With wars, entertainment, addiction, comfort, they re-engineered education to produce obedience, not intelligence. They used media to control emotions. They built false enemies, inflated pride, and manufactured purpose. If you want to rule a nation, you make them feel special then afraid, and then you tell them who the enemy is. That's it. The machine runs itself. This is what happened to the West, especially America. A lobby, a shadow force, fed them comfort, pride, and consumer dreams. They gave them money, then controlled the money. They gave them politicians, then bought the politicians. They gave them enemies, then made them fight on their behalf. This is ultimate power. To be invisible, to rule without being seen, to define morality, to shape reality, to start wars while the world calls you peaceful. Look around. Even clean water is no longer free, and you still think the world is fair. Power was never shaped by justice. Justice has always been shaped by power, and the longer we pretend otherwise, the deeper we stay in chains.